Oh, tu hi President elect Joe Biden le Vice President elect Kamala Harris te pani Thukamlaknak ding Inauguration an ceremony ding chu si tu hi an thok zik ro thlang nan vun mu vek khin minung zau man an lo ding ruanga America flag kitikin antari thu thangi atar lang dan vek asile chu America flag ki thong zat ni si 200,000 America flag kitikin an phun chiam chawi kimi pi aya an ti si ke chu mi pi zau man le ra lo ding ti chu kiti tali an ti lo chun tu himi inauguration ceremony a hin ziang man on awa hri lawi an thok hri lo ruanga ase tok phang deuh le chu an run thok dinge kan ni khal hi ti hin live kan run thla ring dinge nan du chan chana nan ra zau thei himi an live nak dinga hin sorry himi ceremony an tu nak dinga hin Lady Gaga le Jennifer Lopez kha lam ding an hlasak ding an si man pi ding an si an tim tu na sa mi then khat khal kha na satakina phuran umi jiang le laman bang ding hi tuisu ni himi inauguration ceremony an tu ding mi hi US National Guard ral kap thong som thumi nan kil thep se khoi ziang tak le lam thleng ding an ni lo heu men ke mo ziang le lam chun tuisun khathula dana state tina bugalu boys pol le midang dangin lamzo nak nei ding an city khasi an bawrok hi ziang simo bang vi ding himi in pi kha nan rak thei chiao kau mo January ni kul su January ni rok su ni thami supporter polin an lu chil nak mun khasi nan vun mit thlam thei mo minung tor le seng khi tok lam a in pi mai an hung umi sangkate i an phar parian van chiam chau nak mun pol khasi tok mun hi President Thukamlaknak ki an man nak mun pi chu asi khati khan karun thlengi malte nan zau dan anom deuh panga tin mai sa kha chu malte a boring dewi hitin karun thleng sal minung suak khom tla khi zate khat fangte long an si hitok pol al hong ahong lang hi chun January nuruk sun khamit thlama achuang na sa Donald Trump supporter pol e amai an van chiam chawi tok sang kate au nak pol khasi chun khi tok sang kapi katran a seni an tar nak sungi an luti an norok lai rong mit thlama achuang na sa January nuruk sun an buainak asi hi kumdang vek nga chun tui to ki flex nan hu mi pol khi minong an khat thlui thong ni le hlei rok lai Donald Trump inauguration thukam Thukamlaknak pol tlaka thi khat mer thlu kan si.
It was exactly 1 year ago today that California Senator Kamala Harris announced she was dropping out of the presidential race, citing a lack of funds. Now the vice president-elect is poised to break barriers on multiple fronts, inspiring many along the way.
Hive he chukan ngai pai lem lo an fak re rau pai an fak re rawi yang khale kan ngai pai lem lo December ni thum thong ni le kuli arak ti swami an camping lai athu sim mi khasi vek chu ngai pai lem lo kan men pai tok son hi kan zau son hik pai thom wang ziang man a lawi hitin tu hi athok len thok hri si lawi malte chu arak zau tu in rak thlir tu mi pi ranga a boring deuh ding nan rak zau pau asikei chu
But the real focus is on that phrase that the Constitution itself forming a more perfect union. I always thought that was a very important thing for the founders to put in the Constitution. They didn't say we're doing this to form a perfect union. They had an idea of the boundaries of democracy, but they said we're trying to form a more perfect union. And of course, that's still what we're trying to do today. We are more than we have been, not all we need to be, and that effort to have a more perfect union continues. Today we celebrate that, just like frankly we do every time we celebrate the Constitution or democracy. We celebrate the idea that we're moving toward better than we have been, which is what more perfect union is all about. I think this is a moment when we really project in a unique way what democracy is all about, what transition is all about. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 million people will watch the inauguration. Democracy moves forward, and we've been doing this for a long time, and we do it really well, and it's really important.
Washington gave the shortest inaugural address on record, just 135 words. Every president since Washington has delivered an inaugural address, while many of the early presidents read their addresses before taking the oath. The current custom dictates that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court administers the oath first, followed by the president's speech. William Henry Harrison delivered the longest inaugural address at 8,445 words on March 14, 1841. John Adams' which totaled 2,380 words, contained the longest sentence at 737 words. In 1921, Warren G. Harding became the first president to take his oath and deliver his inaugural address through loudspeakers. In 1925, John Ford's inaugural address, the first to be broadcast nationally by radio. And in 1949, Harry S. Truman became the first president to deliver his inaugural address over television airwaves. Most presidents use their inaugural address to present their vision of America and set forth their rights to the nation. Some of the most eloquent and powerful speeches are still quoted today. In 1865, in the waning days of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln said, "Now toward nothing, carry all, with purpose and the right as God gives us to seek right. Let us strive and finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, and care for them who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, and do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations." In 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt vowed, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." And in 1961, John F. Kennedy declared, "And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country."
A lot of times when you're running, so many things happen so quickly. When you're under intense pressure all the time, it's hard to unpack it all whether you were exactly what I do remember that day. I went up there, we went to an early morning church service. Then Hillary Chelsea and I went to the White House and we did as is the custom by President Inauguration. I knew how hard it was because he loved to do it perfect. And anyway, I thought it was a good thing. And I said, we did for economic and social policies. You know, we had a tough time. And the Republicans was, I liked them, I liked them, but they were so gracious. And I remember Laura Bush coming to Chelsea for the good job she did in the campaign. And Chelsea said, well, thank you, I tried. It was such a nice thing to say to a young girl. On the way down, there was a shop behind her. And they were by and large really respectful to him. They were very warm to him. We wish that happened in American life. We did that and they went to Inauguration and I got to walk out of the Capitol where they announced you and you walk out. And I remember just looking around there, seeing some big friends, including John Lewis and me. I remember how much I got water in my hands when we were home. I had worked very hard right at the last minute of my inaugural speech. We were about to take a different turn, economically, socially, and to some extent, we had to build a new world after the Cold War. So I wanted everyone people to know that I heard them, to know that I thought everybody deserved to see it today, and everybody deserved a chance. And I wanted them to understand that I did not look at all these changes in the world as people drove the rules. On this election day, this side was fortunate enough to get more votes. Our spoke more clearly to the needs of the American people. But the country itself matters, the system itself matters. There's so much better together than right. And we believe for all our differences what we have in common is important. In the whole human history, these stagnant democracies that are trying to fail. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are saying, we're taking office today. But we're everlasting in the long run, and we believe what we're doing is. And the reason is we abide by the Constitution. We believe in the Bill of Rights. I think they're exciting people. He represents upright, working class, down to earth, accepting, forward-looking. Now, she represents the three step forward. And they have a lot in common.
It's actually a loud one.
After he's fired, do you see up there the 2 rows of soldiers right next to it?
Yeah.
See the back row of soldiers. There's a fern outside of them, right?
Yeah.
Right above that, he is facing.
Oh, wow. That's way outside the box.
Two, I was an observer in Washington. I saw my dad's first this morning, which was an unbelievably sweet moment for us. Very respectful of the President of the States. Thank you. Very long. But there's a fundamental difference between being an observer and being someone President of the States. I think the inaugural address is very important because first moment, the American people to hear a sworn president. They have seen a candidate in debates and seen news conferences, but they haven't seen the new person and the sworn president speak to the nation. So the inaugural address is very important, sets the tone. It's the beginning of an insight into how this person will conduct himself as president. America has us is compassion, and it's very important. That's is one I spend a lot of time on. Obviously, delivery, but also make sure the power delivery addresses something that we're concerned about. My first inauguration was interesting in that I thought about my parents who were seated back in the line. Of course, all right, the girls came by, but the presence of my family was important. President Carter, President Bush. You know, essentially, I don't think we actually realize the magnitude of the moment and the decision the second inauguration, and then obviously had that experience, that you had never experienced. And I remember seeing my friends in the crowd, and I was able to take the atmosphere along there. Yeah, it was the crowd stretched out. second opportunity to serve. And so the second inauguration had a much different feel first. When President Obama got sworn in, it was a feeling of relief. I was ready to go home. I served my 8 years. Laura and I were looking forward to returning to Texas. It was interesting to observe the arrival of a new president, someone who didn't really go through in many ways that which I had just done. The excitement of the new presidency is palpable, but it was, of course, I came back for President Trump's inauguration. It was once again a transfer of power in a peaceful way. This is the inauguration where I had a little trouble putting the caution on, which created a fair amount of tension. I think my mother had trouble putting the caution on, so I like everybody's son. This job we're going to have is an unusual inauguration. My message to the new president and vice president is congratulations. You're entering into a very exciting period in your life, and may God bless you.
Ke tu hi an thok zik rau thlang chu si hi an in pi chu rau pi lo lo si remin
That's what I was thinking about. Most of I want also to work with the weight cut. It would take some time and effort to meet those challenges. But I wanted them to know that we would. Together we can move this country forward and off in better shape. I loved the parade. Admittedly, it was cold that day, so I felt over all these folks who come from every state and union. But you can see the pride that they had, folks who were visiting NASA and astronauts, and Tuskegee Airmen, elderly gentlemen who served their country with extraordinary pride. It was a reminder of how wonderfully diverse this democracy is. And as the Michelle first started involved, that was pretty special. Michelle was spectacular. Beyonce sang at last.
Tokki President Thari Thusimnak ding hun state cho si.
I was moved by the sight of President's approach, climbing the stairs, ring one, turning away one last time, because that was a powerful symbol of a peaceful transfer of power. You run your regular race and then pass on the top. They could not have been more gracious in months leading up to my inauguration. And seeing them, it was also a reminder for me that I was going to be a
In rak thir tu laka kan YouTube channel tla subscribe hri lo nan rak masi le subscribe nak in rak tu sak chiaw la kan lo so masi hemi US election thul ha thon pe parin achem nu khala thu aphun phun thu thang si se leitun politics thu si se thai kaw nak aphun phun thu tha tha run lo hlom nak kan nei vi vau dingi kan channel hi in ra leng ring ring theu dinga kalau som du si
we are going to have to be determined. That's what we're going to challenge the face right now. Nobody understands that better than President Biden. He's walking into a series of challenges. tôi ra lại rồi rau pol hitte an sim hel mo an sim hel lo bang
minong raswak khom dan zau tika hin flag polan tar lang mi khachu minong swak tu ding zau manan lo ronga felekinan tikhat khum nen ta bang an dua chu raswak thau ding khen sinan raswak tu ding an lem lo ding ke bang tui sun Joe Biden le Kamala Harris day pahnih Inauguration Thukamlaknak ceremony chu America san thuan thua danglam bi ka si hivek hi umda ke lo mi si hitluki minung mal America san thuan thua America President Inauguration ceremony a hitluk minung mal an umda lawi chun hi veki an tim tua khal da lo ral kap national card thong som thum ro ri kil ti vek hi tui han khla ziang te khla rak da lo mi si chele tui jing kan video khali kan run tar lang zau bang khan America President Pola hin minung pali President Phil Tharmi i Thukamlaknak Inauguration a hin an tel pi lo i John Adams khan rak tel pi lawi chun afapa khalin rak tel pi lo chun Andrew Johnson khalin rak tel pi lo chun tu Donald Trump hin atel pi chuang lawi mi hin America President minung pali polin President tharlom lunak ceremony inauguration ceremony hi antel pi lo si
Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of the rich history of American inaugurations, the President's own United States Marine Band will now begin this program with the historic Washington's Grand March.
Composed for our first president, followed by a collection of music that symbolizes the resilience of our nation, beginning with a new setting of celebrated American composer Adolphus Hellstork's Fanfare on Amazing Grace. Joe Biden le Kamala Harris hi President Inauguration Ceremony hi chu Big Tech Poll chun a hlei chain CNN Mainstream Media ti poll Washington Post ti poll hi an rak phur toki hlunglai tak ropi taki tu an tum mi sinan vek bawrok sia ruanga an tua theilawi hi an rak nopok nak chu alak thlu asi hi
Obama inupi si Obama te nupa.
How you doing? Good to see you. Hello, everybody.
Hillary Clinton te nupa an si hmel tlat mai tua mi ka pulang thei lo an si ki Hillary Clinton le pasal Bill Clinton an si
pa chu Ted Cruz va bang ve ti
Okay, great. an mi thupi te te pol an hung thleng re ro chu si an thok harna sa tu hi Washington DC a chun
Jinglam na zi pra le minute hlei asi.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President's own United States Marine Band will now present the world premieres of 3 new fanfares written by American composers in honor of the 59th inaugural ceremonies. Fanfare for Democracy by James Stevenson, Fanfare Politia by Kimberly Archer, and Fanfare for Tomorrow by Peter Boyer.
Ani kitok ki langmi ki Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer kha si Nancy Pelosi thon ani hi kumli sung ri Donald Trump rak bei tu khan si himi hi Nancy Pelosi sin ka thei adung lam long alangi ke lam kapita khi Chuck Schumer chule hitoki asen khi Mitch McConnell anupi hi tuluk ni si Mitch McConnell hi Senate Majority Leader si Republican lami an foi tu ani hi Bernie Sanders a busy mel na sa ki tel thainer now Joe Biden hi aralang thei ri lawi an pui thiam an chang tupa lang thei ri law to ki moto khe si mel tlat tu to ki valiam chia vorlam capitulium chia khe kha sidinga bang in rak zau tu nan za te para kan long oi hi chinet nan rak sun loi tha in pe kan long oi ngai mi hi si om do dang chu si America President unan tau theu mi om do dang kha si mi ding he bang Joe Biden na rut tau din mi hi tui rong lut hi mi chia hi asiding azum Congress in pi hi chu rak ro pi lo chu si hi mi tui moto kan ti mi kan si hi Kamala Kamala Harris adungi ding khian pa si chile hi Joe Biden chu si akiangi ding khi China mi Chinese mi ding abang anupi Joe Biden inupi America santuan thua President upabik asi Joe Biden hi chele America santuan thua Vice President nu naw mai sabik ding asi Kamala Harris hi an patni in America santuan thu an brick rory chu si America Vice President laki nu naw mai sabik le America President laki kum upabik hi Nancy Pelosi cho si hi
Members of the United States Senate 17th Congress. The President-elect's cabinet members and agency designees. Their Excellencies, the bilateral chiefs of mission, joined by Acting Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency Salam Sabah.
An video zai tu pol khalan phim thiam na sa ni pi lau nak chan zai du rei lau tu hi tau nak an la thlang dingi an ra swak thlang ding hi Mitt Romney si Obama thon president of chu tlang ka si Republican lamisin presidential candidate si tuitum thuboya khan khuitok airport a simo mi pi polin an rakzim na sa jiang ro ha Donald Trump na tan lo mai phari mai Republican Party sina chingin jiang rong an tan lo tin mi pi lamin an bor chiam chawi kha security lami bomnak thon an ken hi thei sal mi ke lam kap bik hi Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham si thei mi te pani khat ta chuan nan an hmai han tuam thui an hmela lang fiang thei lo hi
Leadership of the United States House of Representatives, Republican Whip the Honorable Stephen Scalise, and Majority Whip the Honorable James E. Clyburn. Ladies and gentlemen, leadership of the United States Senate, President Pro Tempore Emeritus, the Honorable Patrick Leahy and Mrs. Marshall Leahy, Democratic Whip, the Honorable Dick Durbin and Mrs. Rima Doden, Majority Whip, the Honorable John Thune and Mrs. Kimberly Thune, Democratic Leader, the Honorable Charles Schumer and Mrs. Irish Wineshaw Schumer, and President Pro Tempore of the Senate, the Honorable Chuck Grassley and Mrs. Jennifer Hines.
Ini Dui kan Relmi, Senate Minority Leader Thukamlaknak.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be cold.
Tu kan dong kum hasa kum ni songka Senate Minority Leader si itu hi Senate kan 50-50 an si rona majority nan feding machut hei law si majority an lading asia chun kakha Senate majority a hong chang thang ding Senate Majority Leader a hong chang thang ding.
tu chum hitlok minung maltera suak na chingin ran kap national card thong som thum nang lawin an kil an hum him ti mi hi mitam pi chun Donald Trump an fak na sa an lom zet jiang ronga ti le buaina aswak pangding ti aphan ronga ituk loma min ran kap national card pol akil ven karna asi an ti an fak na sa buaina swak tar lo dini na sa jeti tan la tu si ti khalom an ho zet hi ama kha atuan kul song tui sun khachun athune nak khachemi chumi han song huwa khachu commander in chief asi vekin amai sian na le lungkim pi na kin ral kap khazat thong som thum lai kha Washington DC kil tu dinga an rat thla mi khasi chunga khan Donald Trump kha loma ho jet nak chu si buainak swak du lo tu buainak kham tu tin an lom zet bang zet mi chu tu tiang a hin mi tu te atla khan message karat nga rawi telegram lama chun an ma ral kap song mana hin boina aswak ding Joe Biden du lo tu tor le sengan umi boina swak te si ti tiang kha tu ha umre raw lai ka telegram lama tu ha mi si sinan boina aswak ding chu zum tok lem lo Bela lang da na hi si Supreme Court Justice Samuel alai tu tla bang kati amai ki hup thu si US ramsung thunei tu sang upa pol officer pol hi China mi Chinese mi nupi nei an nuai hi Ted Cruz si hi Jamin Texas Senator Chuck Schumer hi Bill Clinton President Hun le anupi Hillary Clinton an si hi thlai mai thlai mai hai Bill Clinton hi ani khal Donald Trump vekin impeachment an rak tua mi ve thau asi President atuan laya in set nak masazet rak nei ve Hillary Clinton kalka kan thei thuk vek khan a email all kha Julian Assange WikiLeaks founder kami phok suana kin thei thuk kha si kan lai ni si se Mizoram lam in si se chen tam pi sin tha kan pek zet mi kan tan zet mi Donald Trump chu tua hin anu pi thon Florida an ina ha dap ten an chol zau kau ding hi boost te nu pa an si hi former President Bush te nupa ani sungkwa hi Bush family hi Donald Trump dau zet tu khan si ralo zet ngai khan si Obama te nupa an nu na lei silau som ki ziar ni
Ladies and gentlemen, the 43rd President of the United States, the Honorable George W. Bush and Mrs. Laura Bush.
Donald Trump kan tu Paul nan rak zau ve si le nan tha naw lam na ong khong hi le kul huan lia sung loi zetin arading an ti kha rakir sal de tui tumi election Thukamlaknak vote dik lawa ti vek Paul kha ral rin na ka le leshna hang na rau pi zetin arading turong lakdi rap pusing Obama kay mupa si pusing family ang si rap pusing Obama kay mupa.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Justice of the United States, the Honorable John G. Roberts Jr., and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court bolan si tui hai sabi kerong hi John Roberts si hi chule himi nunaw hi Elena Gegan si chun hi Sonia chule hi Brett Kavanaugh chule hi Amy Coney Barrett si John Roberts Chief Justice ni ahin kha kavun hil ani kha Sonia Etomeya si samkerte kha
Cole Mackin Imhoff and Ella Rose Imhoff.
Amy Coney Barrett si Supreme Court Justice ne tabik an thil ni kasi ni John Roberts Supreme Court Justice Chief Justice ni Brett Kavanaugh ani Brett Kavanaugh an lak zik tuma kha Kamala Harris tui Vice President hin nasa takin thu asut himi hi Hunter Biden da si Joe Biden ni fapa si ni pa ke lam kapi mai sabi hi Hunter Biden adang hi an fa lemon si ding mo an sung puan chu an si mang ding mitui kan thua kha kan pe dingi Chief Supreme Court Justice an thil tumi Brett Kavanaugh lak tuma kha Kamala Harris hi tui Vice President hi ani kha tu khir khal tak su tu ka si President Donald Trump Russia thu boi thu khala khami
lawyer thon nan be omo ti pol thukhir khan tak tak san har saza tak tak raksut tu khasi Hunter Biden family
Ladies and gentlemen, the children of President-elect Biden, Robert Hunter Biden II and Ashley Blazer Biden, also the grandchildren of the President-elect.
I know. Totally got cut off.
Vice President Mike Pence te nupa an si he Donald Trump chu tel pi lo lo COVID-19 ronga mi pi swak khom loading in kan cha an ti an ma le hi tin mi pi an tong khom mo chiam choi nai te te an umi hi ro harza chu si mi pi swak khom tu ding an chuang lo ronga COVID-19 an pu mo men te si ke mo
Ladies and gentlemen, accompanying the Vice President, the Secretary of the Senate, the Honorable Julie E. Adams, and Chief Administrative Officer of the House of Representatives, Catherine Spendor. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Michael R. Pence and Mrs. Karen Pence.
Pence 20,000 บาท Rangkap hi Army General si himi kha Chief Justice si amin kha zau kan ti khasima he Hunter Biden family and si Hunter Biden fa le mon si mo yang si mon si mang chu hi Washington DC a chun zinglam na zil hei khat hlei khat aluan thlangi rei hlana an thok ching kau ding Vice President Triltin mi heu aba zikte Kamala Harris hi amin hi kasiar sual thewi kalama tilan kasiar thewi siar harzet ani hi Indian si himi hi ke lam kap hi Joe Biden in Transport Minister ay filmi si ani kha nupi deuh mo nei mo pasal deuh si mo nei
Accompanying the Vice President-elect, the Chief of Inaugural Ceremonies,
pale
Maria
pa ni
Miller
yo
Lomai,
khan si
the Acting Deputy House Sergeant-at-Arms, Kevin Grubbs, and the Acting Deputy Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, United States Capitol Police Officer Private First Class Eugene O. Goodman.
sa tulong ko man si si
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President-elect of the United States, Kamala Devi Harris, and Mr. Douglas Emhoff.
Thukamlaknak Didek an leh lai kha ai no butlaw na sa Vice President Thon an nayo na sanan an be olem na masa sikhe
The Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Staff Representative Alexandria Gordikan DeChico, accompanying the House Republican Leader, the Honorable Kevin McCarthy. Staff Representative Bridget Brennan, accompanying House Majority Leader, the Honorable Steny Hoyer and Mrs. Yvette Lewis. Staff Representative Kate Knudsen, accompanying Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi and Mr. Paul Pelosi. Staff Representative Lindsey Kerr, accompanying the Honorable Amy Klobuchar and Mr. John Bessler. Staff Representative Stephanie Hager Mucko, accompanying Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable Mitch McConnell and the Honorable Elaine L. Chao. And Staff Representative Rochelle
blue
Grace,
color
accompanying the
yan thuk tukha Nancy Pelosi si President Clinton ni Joe Biden
Stand by. Ready. Face. Port. Arms. Forward. Ball.
Ladies and gentlemen, accompanying the President-elect, the Staff Director of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Fitzhugh Elder IV, the Acting House Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, Tim Blodgett, and the Acting Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, Jennifer Hemingway. Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., and Dr. Jill Biden.
Joe Biden kilku
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Chinese mi Korea mi hasi deu ke o
Please welcome the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
Vice President Pence, Mr. President-elect, Madam Vice President-elect, members of Congress and the judicial branch, former presidents and first ladies, vice presidents, leaders from abroad, and a whole bunch of Bidens. America, welcome to the 59th presidential inauguration, where in just a few moments, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will take their solemn oaths. This ceremony is the culmination of 244 years of a democracy. It is the moment when leaders brought to this stage by the will of the people promise to be faithful to our Constitution, to cherish it and defend it. It is the moment when they become, as we all should be, guardians of our country. Have we become too jaded, too accustomed to the ritual of the passing of the torch of democracy to truly appreciate what a blessing and a privilege it is to witness this moment? I think not. 2 weeks ago, when an angry, violent mob staged an insurrection and desecrated this temple of our democracy, it awakened us to our responsibilities as Americans. This is the day when our democracy picks itself up, brushes off the dust, and does what America always does: goes forward as a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This conveyance of a sacred trust between our leaders and our people takes place in front of this shining Capitol dome for a reason. When Abraham Lincoln gave his first inaugural address in front of this Capitol, the dome was only partially constructed, braced by ropes of steel. He promised he would finish it. He was criticized for spending funds on it during the Civil War. To those critics, he replied, "If the people see the Capitol going on, it is a sign we intend the Union shall go on." And it did, and it will. Generations of Americans gave their lives to preserve our republic in this place. Great legislation to protect civil rights and economic security and lead the world was debated and crafted under this dome. Now it falls on all of us, not just the two leaders we are inaugurating today, to take up the torch of our democracy, not as a weapon of political arson, but as an instrument for good. We pledge today never to take our democracy for granted as we celebrate its remarkable strength. We celebrate its resilience, its grit. We celebrate the ordinary people doing extraordinary things for our nation, the doctors and nurses on the front line of this pandemic, the officers in the Capitol, a new generation never giving up hope for justice. We celebrate a new president, Joe Biden, who vows to restore the soul of America and cross the river of our divides to a higher plane. And we celebrate our first African American, first Asian American, and first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, who stands on the shoulders of so many on this platform who have forged the way to this day. When she takes the oath of office, little girls and boys across the world will know that anything and everything is possible. And in the end, that is America, our democracy, a country of so much good. And today, on these Capitol steps and before this glorious field of flags, we rededicate ourselves to its cause. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce to you the senator who has worked with me and so many others to make this ceremony possible, my friend and the chair of the inaugural committee, Missouri Senator Roy Blunt.
Well, I should have known when Senator Klobuchar got involved, at least there'd be a touch of snow up here this morning. Of all the things we'd considered, I don't think snow was on my agenda till I walked out the door a moment ago. But thank you, Senator Klobuchar, and thanks to the other members of the Joint Congressional Committee on the Inauguration as we officially begin the 59th inaugural ceremony. I also want to thank the Joint Committee staff and our partners, particularly our security partners, for the way they've dealt with unprecedented circumstances. When I chaired the inauguration 4 years ago, I shared President Reagan's 1981 description of this event as commonplace and miraculous. Commonplace because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Miraculous because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Americans have celebrated this moment during war, during depression, and now during pandemic. Once again, all three branches of our government come together as the Constitution envisions. Once again, we renew our commitment to our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union. That theme for this inauguration, our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union, was announced by the Joint Committee before the election with the belief that the United States can only fulfill its promise and set an example for others if we are always working to be better than we have been. The Constitution established that determined democracy with its first three words, declaring the people as the source of the government. The Articles of Confederation hadn't done that. The Magna Carta hadn't done that. Only the Constitution says the government exists because the people are the source of the reason it exists. They immediately followed those first three words with the words to form a more perfect union. The founders did not say to form a perfect union. They did not claim that in our new country nothing would need to be improved. Fortunately, they understood that always working to be better would be the hallmark of a great democracy. The freedoms we have today, the nation we have today, is not here just because it happened, and they aren't complete. A great democracy working through the successes and failures of our history, striving to be better than it had been. And we are more than we have been, and we are less than we hope to be. The assault on our Capitol at this very place just 2 weeks ago reminds us that a government designed to balance and check itself is both fragile and resilient. During the last year, the pandemic challenged our free and open society and called for extraordinary determination and sacrifice, and still challenges us today. Meeting that challenge head on have been and are healthcare workers, scientists, first responders, essential frontline workers, and so many others we depend on in so many ways. Today we come to this moment. People all over the world, as we're here, are watching and will watch what we do here. Our government comes together. The Congress and the courts join the transition of executive responsibility. One political party more pleased today and on every inaugural day than the other. But this is not a moment of division, it's a moment of unification. A new administration begins and brings with it a new beginning. And with that, our great national debate goes forward, and a determined democracy will continue to be essential in pursuit of a more perfect union and a better future for all Americans. What a privilege for me to join you today. Thank you. I'm pleased to call to the podium a longtime friend of the President-elect and his family, Father Leo O'Donovan, to lead us in an invocation. Please stand if you are able and remain standing for the national anthem and the pledge to our flag.
Gracious and merciful God, at this sacred time we come before you in need, indeed on our knees. But we come still more with hope and with our eyes raised anew to the vision of a more perfect union in our land, a union of all our citizens to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We are a people of many races, creeds, and colors, national backgrounds, cultures, and styles, now far more numerous and on land much vaster than when Archbishop John Carroll wrote his prayer for the inauguration of George Washington 232 years ago. Archbishop Carroll prayed that you, O Creator of all, would assist with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude the President of these United States, that his administration may be conducted in righteousness and be eminently useful to your people. Today we confess our past failures to live according to our vision of equality, inclusion, and freedom for
President Thukamlaknak
all. Yet we resolutely commit still more now to renewing the vision, to caring for one another in word and deed, especially the least fortunate among us, and so becoming a light for the world. There is a power in each and every one of us that lives by turning to every other one of us, a thrust of the Spirit to cherish and care and stand by others, and above all, those most in need. It is called love, and its path is to give ever more of itself. Today, it is called American patriotism, born not of power and privilege, but of care for the common good, with malice toward none, and with charity for all. For our new president, we beg of you the wisdom Solomon sought when he knelt before you and prayed for an understanding heart, so that I can govern your people and know the difference between right and wrong. We trust in the counsel of the letter of James. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Pope Francis has reminded us how important it is to dream together. By ourselves, he wrote, we risk seeing mirages, things that are not there. Dreams, on the other hand, are built together. Be with us, holy mystery of love, as we dream together. Help us under our new president to reconcile the people of our land, restore our dream and invest it with peace and justice and the joy that is the overflow of love. To the glory of your name, forever, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the presentation of our national colors by the Armed Forces Color Guard, the singing of our national anthem, and for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, here for the singing of our national anthem, accompanied by the President's own United States Marine Band, please welcome Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga sih. Lady Gaga. Oke, itu apa saya nak sabe.
and gentlemen, please welcome from the City of South Fulton, Georgia Fire and Rescue Department, President of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3920, Fire Captain Andrea M. Hall, for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What you are all about to be part of, America, is a historic moment of firsts. To administer the oath to our first African American, our first Asian American, and our first woman Vice President, Kamala Harris, it is my great privilege to welcome to the inaugural stage the first Latina to ever serve on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the oath of office, followed by musical honors.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear
Vice President
that I will support and
Kamala
defend
Harris
the Constitution of the
Thukamlaknak
United States
Thukamlaknak Tuki
against all enemies,
Supreme Court
foreign and
Associate
domestic,
Justice Sonia
that I will
Sotomayor
bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Katin tua chun officialin Vice President si fel zau Thukamlak ala fel zau America Vice President now hai sabi si chun long silawin Asian President
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
President, Vice President, asitaria yasitu. Tuchun Madam Vice President, antitlang.
Please welcome Jennifer Lopez to perform This Land Is Your Land and America the Beautiful, accompanied by members of the President's Own United States Marine Band.
Tua Jennifer Lopez. Ala sakle thangding si chu tauton. Kan rak zap nik ke chu.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California ribbon of highway I saw above me, that endless skyway I saw below me, that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. Oh, this land, oh, this land was made for you and me. Oh, this land, oh, this land, this land
Congresswoman laki Muslim Umar nanti asin kate ihan Umar tidak kau kasih ham
from sea to shining sea.
Una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Let's get this land was made for you and me.
Well, that was great. The sun is shining, and Mr. President-elect, this is the first inauguration in the history of America where J-Lo was the warm-up act for Chief Justice Roberts. With that, it is now my distinct honor to introduce the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, John Roberts, to administer the presidential oath to the next President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the oath of office, followed by musical honors.
Chief Justice John Robert asi ani hi bus in rakrut mi khasi Thukamlaknak tua tu ding asi ani hi Republican lam iruat mi sinaching hin vaitam pi Republican lama tang lawin phatsan theu tu khasi.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Kachun officialin President Kasizau Hagai Sombile Parokna US President si Joe Biden President-elect Joe Biden Ini ka tua chun officialin President Joe Biden si Kanding Oi ume luang ten Hang thei Mr. President Selamat situ
pathian min salro rin Bible para kut suangin khaveki thukamlan sitika pathian hin
Ladies
athei
and gentlemen,
deng
please
teng
be
ding
seated.
to chun Vice President Mike Pence khalkha former Vice President ti asi thlang ding asi chu Joe Biden President Lin Theina ding rang khala na sajetin pathian ni ni thlacham tuan chuwek thau thawin Donald Trump President atlin sal Theina dinga na sajeti thlarak cham tu khalan thau thau
My fellow Americans, a moment we have all been waiting for. It is now my great privilege and high honor to be the first person to officially introduce the 46th President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden, Jr.
Chief Justice Roberts, Vice President Harris, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, Vice President Pence, and my distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. This is America's day. This is democracy's day, a day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. We've learned again that democracy is precious. Democracy is fragile. And at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed. So now, on this hallowed ground where just a few days ago, violence sought to shake the Capitol's very foundation, we come together as one nation, under God, indivisible, to carry out the peaceful transfer of power as we have for more than 2 centuries. As we look ahead in our uniquely American way, restless, bold, optimistic, and set our sights on the nation we know we can be and we must be. I thank my predecessors of both parties for their presence here today. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. And I know the resilience of our Constitution and the strength of our nation, as does President Carter, who I spoke with last night, who cannot be with us today, but whom we salute for his lifetime in service. I've just taken the sacred oath each of those patriots have taken, the oath first sworn by George Washington. But the American story depends not on any one of us, not on some of us, but on all of us, on we the people who seek a more perfect union. This is a great nation. We are good people. And over the centuries, through storm and strife, in peace and in war, we've come so far, but we still have far to go. We'll press forward with speed and urgency, for we have much to do in this winter of peril and significant possibilities. Much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation's history have been more challenged or found a time more challenging or difficult than the time we're in now. Once-in-a-century virus that silently stalks the country has taken as many lives in 1 year as America lost in all of World War II. Millions of jobs have been lost. Hundreds of thousands of businesses closed. A cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer. A cry for survival comes from the planet itself. A cry that can't be any more desperate or any more clear. And now, a rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism, that we must confront and we will defeat. To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America, requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy: unity. Unity. In another January, on New Year's Day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, and I quote, "If my name ever goes down into history, it'll be for this act, and my whole soul is in it." My whole soul is in it. Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrongs. We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make health care secure for all. We can deliver racial justice, and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world. I know speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy these days. I know the forces that divide us are deep and they are real. But I also know they are not new. Our history has been a constant struggle between the American ideal that we're all are created equal and the harsh, ugly reality that racism, nativism, fear, demonization have long torn us apart. The battle is perennial, and victory is never assured. Through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War, 9/11, through struggle, sacrifice, and setbacks, our better angels have always prevailed. In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity, There is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos. This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward. And we must meet this moment as the United States of America. If we do that, I guarantee you we will not fail. We have never, ever, ever, ever failed in America when we've acted together. And so today, at this time, in this place, let's start afresh, all of us. Let's begin to listen to one another again, hear one another, see one another, show respect to one another. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire, destroying everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war. And we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured. My fellow Americans, we have to be different than this. America has to be better than this. And I believe America is so much better than this. Just look around. Here we stand in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, as was mentioned earlier, completed amid the Civil War, when the Union itself was literally hanging in the balance. Yet we endured. We prevailed. Here we stand, looking out on the great mall where Dr. King spoke of his dream. Here we stand where 108 years ago, at another inaugural, thousands of protesters tried to block brave women marching for the right to vote. And today, we mark the swearing in of the first woman in American history elected to national office, Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't tell me things can't change. Here we stand, across the Potomac from Arlington Cemetery, where heroes who gave the last full measure of devotion rest in eternal peace. And here we stand, just days after a riotous mob thought they could use violence to silence the will of the people, to stop the work of our democracy, to drive us from this sacred ground. It did not happen. It will never happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Not ever. To all those who supported our campaign, I'm humbled by the faith you've placed in us. To all those who did not support us, let me say this. Hear me out as we move forward. Take a measure of me and my heart. And if you still disagree, so be it. That's democracy. That's America. The right to dissent peaceably within the guardrails of our republic is perhaps this nation's greatest strength. Yet hear me clearly. Disagreement must not lead to disunion. And I pledge this to you. I will be a president for all Americans. All Americans. And I promise you, I will fight as hard for those who did not support me as for those who did. Many centuries ago, St. Augustine, a saint of my church, wrote that a people was a multitude defined by the common objects of their love. Defined by the common objects of their love. What are the common objects we as Americans love that define us as Americans? I think we know. Opportunity, security, liberty, dignity, respect, honor, and yes, the truth. Recent weeks and months have taught us a painful lesson. There is truth and there are lies. Lies told for power and for profit. And each of us has a duty and a responsibility as citizens, as Americans, and especially as leaders. Leaders who have pledged to honor our Constitution and protect our nation, to defend the truth and defeat the lies. Look, I understand that many of my fellow Americans view the future with fear and trepidation. I understand they worry about their jobs. I understand
online arung tatlup thli yang hasi o
to retreat into competing factions, distrusting those who don't look like you, or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same sources you do. We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts, if we show a little tolerance and humility, and if we're willing to stand in the other person's shoes, as my mom would say, just for a moment, stand in their shoes. Because here's the thing about life. There's no accounting for what fate will deal you. Some days, when you need a hand. There are other days when we're called to lend a hand. That's how it has to be. That's what we do for one another. And if we are this way, our country will be stronger, more prosperous, more ready for the future. And we can still disagree. My fellow Americans, in the work ahead of us, we're going to need each other. We need all our strength to persevere through this dark winter. We're entering what may be the toughest and deadliest period of the virus. We must set aside politics and finally face this pandemic as one nation. One nation. And I promise you this, as the Bible says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. We will get through this together. Together. Look, folks, all my colleagues I serve with in the House and the Senate up here, we all understand the world is watching all of us today. So here's my message to those beyond our borders. America has been tested, and we've come out stronger for it. We will repair our alliances and engage with the world once again, not to meet yesterday's challenges, but today's and tomorrow's challenges. And we'll lead not merely by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. We'll be a strong and trusted partner for peace, progress, and security. Look, you all know we've been through so much in this nation. And my first act as president, I'd like to ask you to join me in a moment of silent prayer. Remember all those who we lost in this past year to the pandemic. Those 400,000 fellow Americans, moms, dads, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, friends, neighbors, and co-workers. We'll honor them by becoming the people and the nation we know we can and should be. So I ask you, let's say a silent prayer for those who've lost their lives and those left behind, and for our country. Amen. Folks, this is a time of testing. We face an attack on our democracy and on truth, a raging virus, growing inequity, the sting of systemic racism, a climate in crisis, America's role in the world. Any one of these would be enough to challenge us in profound ways. But the fact is, we face them all at once presenting this nation with one of the gravest responsibilities we've had. Now we're going to be tested. Are we going to step up, all of us? It's time for boldness, for there's so much to do. And this is certain. I promise you, we will be judged, you and I, by how we resolve these cascading crises of our era. We will rise to the occasion is the question. Will we master this rare and difficult hour? Will we meet our obligations and pass along a new and better world to our children? I believe we must. I'm sure you do as well. I believe we will. And when we do, we'll write the next great chapter in the history of the United States of America, the American story. A story that might sound something like a song that means a lot to me. It's called American Anthem. There's one verse that stands out, at least for me, and it goes like this. The work and prayers of century have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Let's us add our own work and prayers to the unfolding story of our great nation. If we do this, then when our days are through, our children and our children's children will say of us, they gave their best, they did their duty, they healed a broken land. My fellow Americans, I close the day where I began, with the sacred oath. Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you. I will defend the Constitution. I'll defend our democracy. I'll defend America. And I'll give all of you, keep everything I do in your service, thinking not of power, but of possibilities, not of personal interest, but the public good. And together, we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness, a story of decency and dignity, love and healing, greatness and goodness. May this be the story that guides us, the story that inspires us, and the story that tells ages yet to come that we answered the call of history. We met the moment. Democracy and hope, truth and justice did not die on our watch but thrived. That America secured liberty at home and stood once again as a beacon to the world. That is what we owe our forebears, one another, and generation to follow. So, with purpose and resolve, we turn to those tasks of our time, sustained by faith, driven by conviction, and devoted to one another and the country we love with all our hearts. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, America.
kan live chu kan center dingi in rak zau tu nan za te para kan lung oi hi mai lam chan khala chin ne hi ha in rak pe ring ring ramu chule thu tha tha thai kau na apun phun leilung tlun thu thang le leilung tlun politics thu thang apun phun khal ron lau thom vi vau kan tum ding asi tu vekin tha in pek nak para kan lung oi ngai ngai tu lai bau rok sia laka nan mun chiawa pathianin lokil vengin lohum him ram se nat nei tu nat nga tu tla pathianin damnak lo pe ram hai se tia hi munisin thlachamnak kan lo nei sakasi tu suni tiang chin net tha in pek nak para kan long oi ti kha kasimbet du mailam chan khala nan thapek nak kan tul vivo tin tu zani kan live chu hitin kan chemter ding si nan za ten sun tha mang tha